you.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We've had a lot of progress. Obviously, lots of things have happened on the state election front, and we're getting closer and closer to voting date. Remember, Goa, Manipur, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand will all be voting, and results should be out around the 10th of March. The big one is Uttar Pradesh, where most of the action remains, but there's also interesting developments in Punjab and Goa. We are at the Ayaram Gayaram stage of any election at this point, where people are switching parties. And I suppose the voters are trying to keep track of which party which person belongs to. So we're doing an update right now to help us understand what's going on and who's likely to win big. We have Neerja Chowdhury, very senior journalist, someone I respect greatly, joining us right now, along with Mr. Sharat Pradhan, who joins us out of Lucknow, who understands UP better than anyone else I know. UP is extremely interesting, obviously, biggest state. It contributes a great deal to what's happening in our parliament. Largest number of seats still being contested out of Uttar Pradesh. And we've seen a lot of back and forth, exiting of parties, joining of new parties between the Samajwadi Party and the BJP particularly. Priyanka Gandhi, appearing on the media a lot more these days about the fact that she's fronting the Uttar Pradesh election, but what sort of a difference is that going to make? From a Congress's point of view, we'll find out that as well. Let me take the first question then to Ms. Neerja Chowdhury. Ms. Chowdhury, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Lots of movement happening in Uttar Pradesh, back and forth between parties. Now, we know that this is not out of ordinary, because a lot of the people who are moving are also people who've moved in the past, who have a history of moving from party to party, who moved from BSP, then to BJP, now to SP. What does it look like to you now? Does it look like a two-way battle between Akhilesh Yadav and Yogi Adityanath?
I would say yes to that. It seems like a real contest between the BJP, which has been firmly in the saddle, and Akhilesh Yadav and his alliance with the RLD, led by Jayant Chaudhary and some smaller parties. So it's narrowing down to a real takkar between the two sides. Now, Akhilesh Yadav, for 4.5 years was, hardly to be seen. You wondered, where he was, even when the COVID was on and various issues were thrown up. But suddenly with the local elections, his party began to be visible. And as he started to move around, you saw large numbers of people attending his rallies. And what I give a great deal of importance to is the feel at the rally. When you as a reporter go to cover elections, this is the one thing you look out for. What is the kind of crowd there? What is the feeling? What is the response of the crowd to what the leader is saying? And Akhilesh Yadav's rallies had that element of excitement, in the crowd that came. And I know some of the RLD people saying this, that our rallies, for the first time in 20 years, we are sensing some kind of an excitement on the ground level. So given that, you wondered whether all those disaffected, all those unhappy with the BJP regime, and the what we saw, those images during COVID too, with bodies of wash in the Ganga, in the mishandling with the oxygen, etc. You wondered whether there was an underlying sentiment. You wondered whether there was not just dissatisfaction against the regime, which happens, after 5 years with any government, but whether there was more than that, whether it is what I call, this is an election between, between, is it dissatisfaction or is it akrosh? It's a Hindi word which means anger in people. Yes, so that remains the question mark to me, that's going to determine the outcome. But given that, this Samajwadi Party versus BJP, then he got a fillip to the momentum when he managed to get over a dozen MLAs and ministers from the BJP to walk out and join the Samajwadi Party.
Yes.
Now, I think OBCs are the flavor of UP 2022. How they vote this time in different parts of the state, is going to determine the outcome. The Jats are disaffected in the western part of UP. Jats have given the BJP the momentum to win in the last election, 2014, 2017, and 2019. So those are all question marks, Faye,
So
for me.
quick follow-up question, Ms. Chowdhury. A lot of the mainstream media, having put it out as a caveat that a lot of mainstream media is also batting for the BJP at this point. The argument was that this handful of MLAs leaving from the BJP, joining the Samajwadi Party is actually not a big deal, given the larger size of this election. Do you agree with that in any way?
No, I don't agree with that, because if I'll tell you one very simple thing. I had talked a few months ago to a very senior leader in the BJP. And I was talking about the farmers' agitation and how angry the Jats were. And I'd heard Jat families say that is baar hum BJP ke jhanse mein nahi aane wale. You know, this Hindu-Muslim thing that they create, which they'd done in 2013 with the Muzaffarnagar communal riots. This time we're not going to be taken in by it. So I was saying this to this leader, that Jats, your problem is going to come in Western UP if the Jats begin to desert you. So he said to me, we're not so worried about the Jats. We'll manage that situation. We are more worried about the OBCs. And this was in September last year. So I think they had a sense of what was going on amongst the OBCs. Now, if the OBCs start to move, and especially the lower OBCs, what are called the lower OBCs, the non-Yadav OBCs, to Akhilesh Yadav's side, then what he's actually attempting to do is a rainbow coalition which widens the plank of the Muslim Yadav vote bank that the Samajwadi Party has held in the past. And if you add to them a section of the Jats, not all the Jats are going to go to the Samajwadi Party or the RLD, but if a good chunk goes in Western UP, if the Gujars are unhappy in Western UP, if the Sikhs are unhappy after Lakhimpur Kheri, then, and he's added to it smaller parties like Nishad, then you're looking at this rainbow coalition of Muslim, Yadav, a section of the non-Yadav OBCs with a smattering of other castes joining in. Now that is what Akhilesh Yadav is trying to forge. To what extent he is succeeding, will succeed, will determine the final outcome.
Right.
In fact, I want to bring in Mr. Pradhan. Mr. Pradhan, good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening.
The last time we spoke, and Ms. Chowdhury also mentioned a couple of things that are making people angry. Unemployment and the numbers that are coming out even now are not at all comforting. A lot of the people, like we know, in the first wave of COVID who walked back to their villages in Uttar Pradesh, in Bihar, are still in those villages because they've not been able to regain the jobs that they had left behind in the city. There's inflation. We know that petrol prices are going to start moving upwards as soon as these elections are over, because that's where crude is right now, but it's still at an uncomfortable position. And of course, the second wave of COVID and all the deaths that came with it. We have also a question from Ganesh C, who's asked this question. We've seen railway candidate protests happen in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. How much is that, it's indicative of the unemployment on the ground. How much is all of this going to play, and is it now, is it center stage at this on this election?
Well, that is what is reflected in the anger of the youth. What I feel, I've been to parts of Eastern UP, and I went to a number of villages where I could see this simmering anger against Yogi Adityanath among the youth. And this is largely because of the lies that the government has tried to spread through the mainstream media, which has been, overloaded with advertisements. The kind of money that has been spilled around by the government is nobody's business. It is, in the last two supplementary budgets, the allocation for publicity alone was 650 crores. I'm sure a lot of state governments in the country would not be having that kind of budget for the entire year. And all goes to impress upon people that Yogi Adityanath has created 4.5 lakh jobs. People have been given 4.5 lakh jobs. And wherever you go, the youth is busy asking you with anger, where are these jobs? Some people went into RTI also and they never got a reply. Because nobody knows who, ultimately, down the line, people are ready to believe that all this is a whole lot of lies that the government is trying to spread through the power of advertisements that they have, the money at their command. And they're trying to impress upon people, and this is going to be a major issue. Second thing, the second lies they have spread very systematically in the same manner is about Corona. They claim that what management of Corona, Prime Minister came here and said, the management of Corona is unparalleled, unprecedented. These are the words he used. Then the UP government said on the floor of the House, the health minister made a statement on the floor of the House claiming that nobody died of shortage of oxygen in Uttar Pradesh. Now, this is another lies which people cannot tolerate. And this is where the anger comes from. So you can get away by spreading a lot of Hindu-Muslim narrative to forge a divide on communal lines. As far as the farm laws are concerned, the BJP's concern at the moment is how to divide the Jats and Muslims in Western UP. They were very hopeful that they would be able to bring an end to the reunification of harmony between the Jats and Muslims in this region. It was the divide created on account of the 2013 Muzaffarnagar riots that BJP thrived. It could ensure a very easy Hindu polarization in that area, which is why they swept in this area in 2014, 2017, 2019. 2017, they got 109 seats out of the 131 seats that they have in the Western UP, which is where the elections are going to begin in the first phase, out of the 7-phase election. Now, Narendra Modi and his team were probably led to believe that the moment he withdraws the farm laws, the controversial farm laws, the Jats would roll back in favor of the BJP. They would go behind Modi like the Pied Piper. But that didn't happen. Because people haven't forgotten what they have gone through during this 1-year-long agitation. 109 farmers died during that agitation. But BJP thought it was very convenient. They will incite this communal fervor and once again divide the Muslims and Jats. And they have not been able to do it till this day. Which is why Amit Shah has been going door to door. I mean, that is how I read it. He's been going door to door in that region, going to places like, trying to invoke Kairana, which is again a bit of is huge lies. We all know, Neerja would remember, that Hukum Singh, who made this allegation about exodus of Hindus from Kairana on account of Muslims, Atank of Muslims, this is how it was described. When the Indian Express exposed this whole thing, and they brought out a list of people with name and their quotes that they had not left Kairana on account of any kind of oppression by the Muslims or any. There was only one family which had suffered on account of of a criminal, of a Muslim who happened to be a Muslim. And it was magnified into this form. Then Hukum Singh himself retracted his allegation. He expressed regret, and there are a whole lot of videos on the mainstream media also. There are his stories saying how Hukum Singh expressed regret that he was misinformed and this didn't happen. Yet, now all this happened 5.5 years ago. But Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister of the country, continues to harp on that and goes and tries to invoke the same thing. Look here, we have brought all those people back. They had left Kairana. It's all lies. When you take recourse to lies to impress upon people so that they can vote for you, this reflects desperation.
Of desperation. Ms. Chowdhury, I just want you to weigh in here, on the idea of using the communal card. Mr. Pradhan is reading desperation into it, or is it just a tried and tested method at this point?
Yeah, the BJP, when, it's not only, I would say, yes, the BJP's tried and tested method is Hindu-Muslim polarization. They will go for it in every election. What stage they do it at is another thing. But BJP is the cocktail that the Modi-Shah duo has presented is larger than that. There is the Hindutva, Hindu-Muslim polarization at the heart of it. Then there is the whole issue of national security and nationalism, which they invoke. And this time it was also supposed to be the Prime Minister's security given a go-by in Punjab, which is part of the same piece.
Yes.
In addition to that, they have their the welfare programs. And whether it's the building of the toilets, the power, pensions, insurance, they've made sure that people have got something in hand in terms of now, even if it's very inefficiently implemented, a lot of people say it is 30-40% also efficient. People have got something. So their welfareism, and then they reach out to the OBCs, particularly the non-Yadav OBCs in a state like Uttar Pradesh, and they're a large chunk. And they have managed to have these people vote for them, 14, 17, 19. The figures show that. And finally, the strong leadership of Narendra Modi himself, which is a USP the BJP uses in state elections also, not just the national election. So I think, yes, I would say that the Hindu-Muslim polarization is at the heart of it. Because a lot of people, even though they're dissatisfied, when they go to the voting booth, will sort of say who's on the opposite side. And after all, they represent me. They represent Hindu interests as far as the Hindus are concerned. Now, that is one of the reasons why the opposition parties have been very careful in the way they have, dealt with the Hindus. This temple hopping, invocation of the Hindu symbols. Because, let's face it, the Hindu has got Hinduized in the last many years all over the country. That's a reality. It's a political reality that every party is having to contend with. So I would, to answer your question, yes, that is the centerpiece of their strategy, and also their value system.
We have a question from Pranab Ganguly, who says, what can the opposition parties learn from the elections that they can use in this fight in Uttar Pradesh? Is there any learning, or are the states so different that there's nothing from West Bengal that can be picked up? Ms. Chowdhury?
What they can learn from West Bengal is the gutsy spirit of Mamata Banerjee. The fight back and no holds barred fight back in West Bengal. And then her identification with the poor of the state, the marginalized of the state. And she had got her arithmetic right in the state and also constituency-wise. But also a very important part of her planning was what I was saying, that not to attack the Jai Shri Ram slogans, herself to talk about, she does Chandi Puja, she's a temple goer, meaning I'm not only for the Muslims, I'm a Hindu representing everybody. That message, I think she managed to get across, and Prashant Kishore, helped her do that in West Bengal. So that is one of the lessons that the parties in other states, including Uttar Pradesh, can learn from.
Mr. Pradhan, the India Today Mood of the Nation survey said that Narendra Modi remains the most popular politician in this country, the popular leader in this country. And it's his association with the BJP that continues to win elections. And we saw that very interesting photograph that was released with the Prime Minister had his arm around Yogi Adityanath, sort of giving his blessing and his guidance, linking the two of them and making them one unit for this election. Is the minister's popularity what is likely to carry the BJP through this election?
Well, that is the eventually that is what they depend on, because Modi magic continues to prevail. But my reading is that, it continues to prevail with people who are already BJP voters. They are the core vote bank of the BJP. Yes, Neerja rightly said that the Hindus have got Hinduized. They've gone berserk. And they kind of follow Modi like a cult. But they are not the ones who can make the difference. It is this youth which comes in the form of incremental vote. And it is the incremental vote which determines victory and defeat.
Isn't that youth also Hindu, Mr. Pradhan?
No, but that youth is not affected. That is what I said. The best part is that youth doesn't seem to be getting carried away in the name of the religion. I've heard with my own ears and saw with my own eyes how a youth is arguing, ki what the hell, this temple is not going to make us survive. How do I get my daily bread? It's jobs. There are no jobs. And things are so expensive. What do I do? My father may vote for BJP, but why should I? What have they done? They promised jobs. They haven't given jobs. So this is I feel it is very heartening to hear that, because if they are not affected by this virus of communalism, then there is hope for the democracy. Otherwise, otherwise there would be no competition, no contest. And the second thing is that Akhilesh is, what I've never expected Akhilesh to become as smart as he appears to be today. Yes, Neerja rightly pointed out that 4.5 years he did nothing. He was completely laid back, and one had lost all hopes that there would be any opposition in Uttar Pradesh. But the manner in which he started getting response, I think he was amazed himself, and that's what brought him into the gear. And what he's been able to do in terms of castes is remarkable. The way he's managed to stitch non-Yadav OBC alliances, the extreme backwards as they call them, is what has really unsettled the BJP. They were not expecting this. And if Akalis succeeds, I think that is what he's trying. That this caste combine, the manner in which important OBC leaders from the BJP switched loyalties to Samajwadi Party, also reflects that he has been able to stitch this alliance in a manner that eventually the OBC, it becomes a fight between OBC and the forwards, led by Yogi Adityanath. Yogi Adityanath has this branding of a staunch pro-Thakur leader, which is why a section of the Brahmins are also bugged with the BJP. And if this, BJP is quite content that Brahmins will eventually have nowhere to go except the BJP. But it is believed that a section of the BJP has already been, of Brahmins have already been dented, and they also fall in line with this RLD, BJP, Samajwadi Party combined. Then things are going to be really difficult for the BJP. But at the end of the day, there is no doubt that it's going to be a tough call. It's a tough fight. But there is chance of the BJP being voted out.
Ms. Chowdhury, do you agree? And also Haywire has asked a question saying the latest student protest, does this mean students have realized that things on the ground and will hit back?
Look, there's so much restiveness in communities in Uttar Pradesh. There is I agree with Sharat that, loss of jobs, economic distress, rising prices, and those are the issues, but the mobilization is around caste. So the two together, and if you look at different communities, yes, there is a lot of restiveness. I would say, suppose I was asked this question, Faye, 7-8 years ago, I was selling this, we were talking, Sharat and I, before you came on, and the program started. I would have said, yes, the opposition led by Akhilesh Yadav is in the lead. Given the sentiment you see, I hesitate to say that today, and I would say it's a takkar, because the BJP has mounted a well-oiled, formidable election machinery in the state, which none of the other parties had. Now, there is, as Sharat has pointed out, the huge resources. There's no shortage of resources, and that's not just in Uttar Pradesh. That's everywhere that you see visible. The second is a ground level machinery of booth level workers going from house to house, now at the moment pointing out to families, look, this government has done this for you. You may be dissatisfied, we've not done the ABCD, but we have done this for you. What about, this thing coming to you, this scheme yielding this interest? And they reel off those things, which we have seen advertised, full page ads, you and I've seen in newspapers about and television about what Yogi Adityanath has said. Now, what is the reality? People will know what is the reality. The opposition highlights, but certainly they are putting this in front of the people, this well-oiled machinery. One other thing, Faye, which I think the opposition has to learn from the BJP, and I want to say this, Amit Shah, between July 2013 to May 2014, when general elections were held, had been made responsible for bringing UP into the BJP's kitty. 10, 11 months, he created such a machinery there that the BJP went up from 10 Lok Sabha seats to 71 Lok Sabha seats and 2 amongst the allies. And this, remember, was when the UPA was in power. It wasn't the NDA and BJP in power at the center. Now, that was sheer hard work. That was camping on the ground. That was identifying the smaller groups. It is reaching, the icons of the smaller groups. Rajbhars, who are your icons? You identify with these communities and groups. And sheer hard work and setting up a machinery. Now, the Congress party, I know, since 2004, the Congress leadership, when you ask them, what about UP? They'll say, what about UP? How do we revive that? So they are not, even with their government in power, were able to exhibit this kind of a killer instinct, the hunger for power. And I think Akhilesh Yadav probably has the best machinery in Samajwadi Party amongst the opposition parties, but it's not a match for the BJP. So this well-oiled machinery to bring people out to come and vote is going to be the last mile, the battle that's finally going to decide who is the winner in a close contest. Now, I say this again and again, Faye, this really works in a normal average election. Excuse me. When there's unhappiness and there is dissatisfaction and you think you should have got more than you got, it doesn't work when there is akrosh. Then people don't see who's the person coming to get you, not get you. They are angry. Now, is the sentiment in UP anger? 1977 elections, when Indira Gandhi was thrown out of power and this motley group of, what formed the Janata Party came to power, it was a vote of anger. She was wiped out all over North India. Now, what is the sentiment? How do you classify or categorize this sentiment is a very important element in this election in Uttar Pradesh.
There's also the statistic and the superstition that no Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister has come back for a second term. There's a jinx of 35 years on that. Do you think that Yogi Adityanath will break that jinx and come back for a second term? Because it's quite a gamble for the BJP to use the same face, which
Are you asking me? Oh,
sorry?
Sharat, are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
Look, I don't believe in these jinx at all.
Okay.
Anymore. In Punjab, that jinx was broken. Akalis came back to power for the second time. So I think we are in a very different situation to go back to say it's not happened before, therefore it's not going to happen today. But one thing I'm going to say, Yogi Adityanath has identified with his community. There is a feeling amongst other communities that the Thakurs have had it good under him. That is what has also alienated the OBCs and the EBCs, the extremely backward amongst them. But I will say this election is really about Yogi Adityanath, even more than about Akhilesh Yadav. Because if Yogi Adityanath comes back to power convincingly, then he will be a claimant for the prime ministership next time around. Maybe not in 24, but later. Therefore, there are many people in the BJP, there are some people in the BJP who would like the BJP to form the government, but just scrape through. So there are wheels within wheels. There are wheels within wheels also inside the BJP.
Inside the BJP, right?
At work.
Mr. Pradhan, same question to you. Do you believe in the jinx?
Well, no. I don't believe in this jinx. It has been, it's a simple. I don't consider it a jinx. It has been a pattern, particularly in the past few elections, that the vote has come against the incumbent. When Mulayam lost it in 2002, Mulayam came because of anti-Mayawati vote. Then it was anti-Mulayam vote which brought Mayawati again. Then it was again anti-Mayawati vote which brought Akalis. There were all kinds of attributes given to this, but I believe that this is how it happened. And it was anti-Akalis because of the family feud that he went on the streets, with which he went on the streets, that he lost it and this man came. Now, Yogi Adityanath is maybe, being projected, and all kinds of narratives are being built that, okay, in order to bring Modi back, you need Yogi Adityanath in 2022. This is what Amit Shah has been saying. But many insiders say that even if BJP were to return to power in UP, probably Yogi Adityanath will not get the chief minister's job. For the simple reason that, for two reasons, that one is that he has offended Modi on more than one occasion. And Modi is the last one to, take it lying down, these kind of things. We have seen when Modi sent his nominee, Arvind Sharma, that former IS officer, he was put in the dumps. And despite all kinds of insistence from the RSS supporters, from the BJP leaders coming to UP, sitting down with the Yogi, refused to budge. That is one factor. And the second is Amit Shah himself. I have really serious doubts that Amit Shah would want anybody to come in his way of succession, even if it is beyond 2024. So they can find hazard reasons to, induct him at the center or whatever. Of course, Yogi Adityanath may fight to the extent that he can, but I don't think he can fight back Modi in those terms. They didn't want to show that they were at war and no action was taken against him. But fact of the matter is there are a lot of resentment, lot of simmering discontent against him within the BJP. And Neerja would know better in the BJP circles.
Before I move to other states which we must discuss, Uttar Pradesh tends to eclipse everything. The party we have not discussed at all is the Congress party. Now, there is of course the BSP and Mayawati, which we understand still holds certain amount of sway, votes that will not leave that party. But is there anything left to discuss in the Congress party with Priyanka Gandhi and her 40% tickets handed to women, and her new sort of tone of campaigning? Mr. Pradhan, you first. Do you think there's anything there?
Priyanka took off very well, and she really took pains. She spent more time. As a matter of fact, there was a time when people used to say that Akhilesh Yadav needs to learn the kind of work Priyanka is doing on ground. Any issues, she was there. Whether it was Corona, the migratory labor, the Hathras incident, the Unnao incident, even Lakhimpur incident, she is the one who brought it to the center stage. She really took pain. She did a lot of legwork. But what she lacks is a party organization. There isn't a party organization that they have. So whatever she built, this narrative that she built, brought everyone on the back foot, was the Women's Manifesto that she launched. It was remarkable. It compelled every other political party to give more seats to women this time. But again, because she doesn't have a party organization to back, it is unlikely that what she would, I'm sure Congress is so down in the dumps that they have nothing more to lose. So, for all you know, she would gain some seats, but wouldn't make any meaningful difference to the political destiny of the state or political destiny of the party. Maybe, and she seemed to be doing work to put the party back on its feet in the state, where they ruled for 40 years once upon a time. But for 32 years, they've been out of power. But what has happened recently, it was no big deal when Jitin Prasad walked out of the Congress and joined the BJP, because Jitin Prasad was not. When this RPN Singh walked away, this was right under Priyanka's nose. She had made him one of the star campaigners 2 days earlier, and this fellow walked out. Not that they have anything more to lose, but this perception that is built, okay, it's a dent to the. Of course, BJP is trying to project it as a big win for them. Vis-a-vis whom? Congress party, which is not a fighter and which is not in the main fight. I don't know how they are trying to project it as a loss to Samajwadi Party and their gain. It is a loss to the Congress.
Ms. Chowdhury, any dent you see in the being made by the Congress?
Look, I think I agree with Sharat that this time around they are not really in the reckoning. But this 40% seats to women, the focus on women has, for the first time, the Congress has set the agenda instead of following the agenda.
Very true.
And there's a lot of interest among younger women, among women. So I think for the future, what she started to do, I've been talking to many women in Delhi who come from villages in Uttar Pradesh, who work in homes, who work in, little shops. And they say, we are watching her with interest. She has generated interest. And obviously she's being talked about. But how much of a difference it's going to make to their prospects this time, I don't know. I don't think so.
Very well put. If, with your permission, for both of our panelists, I'd like to move to another state and also discuss Punjab at this point, which is really interesting. For our audience, the Punjab election will have 117 members in that assembly. Big contenders, Congress, the BJP, we're not really sure what is going on there. The Aam Aadmi Party making a big splash, announcing Bhagwant Mann as their chief ministerial candidate. Ms. Chowdhury, what are your readings on Punjab right now? Do you see this? Whose election is it to lose at this point?
Look, again, from the feedback one is getting from the state, there is an election between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. I don't think the BJP is anywhere in the picture and they know it. I don't think Amarinder Singh with his new party is making waves at all, which some people thought he might do and get sympathy, and that's not happening. And I don't think the Akalis are gaining as they would have liked to, even though they have an alliance with the BSP. So the fight is essentially between these two formations. The Aam Aadmi Party in the last elections, I remember visiting Punjab and touring several parts of the state, was an election where the young people were saying very clearly, we are going to vote for AAP. Families were divided amongst the older group that was going to vote for the Congress or the Akalis, and the younger people rooting for Aam Aadmi Party. Now, things were, Arun Jaitley used to say that, in conversation, the late Arun Jaitley, minister in the Modi government, that we shifted our vote at the last minute to Captain Amarinder Singh because we did not want AAP to come to power. Now, Aam Aadmi Party has its shortcoming has been that it did not have a face of a leader. This time, Arvind Kejriwal has named their leader, Bhagwant Mann. Now, Bhagwant Mann is a very good orator, popular amongst people when he speaks, but, given his alcoholism in the past, which he's supposed to have given up, there have been question marks about, the credibility of that leadership. How much of a dent he's going to make, how much of confidence he's going to be able to create, again, is a question mark and remains to be seen. And on the other side, Of course, there is Charanjit Singh Channi, which was a master stroke of Congress. You know, out of, as I say, completely anarchic Gadar situation, using a Hindi word, emerged this man at the end of the day as a, somebody to replace Captain Amrinder Singh. And with 32% Dalits in the state, and with its, following amongst the urban Hindus, you thought this would be a winner. But Navjot Singh Sidhu, flapping at his heels, snapping at his heels all the time, and, creating a, I find it very, very disconcerting myself personally when I see the chief minister standing there and Navjot Singh Sidhu coming very patronizingly, putting his hands around to show I am the real boss in many ways, not you.
Yeah.
Channi has moved very well, and he's a preferred choice at the moment for CM. And if the Congress comes back to power, there is no way the Congress is going to be able to replace Channi, a Dalit.
Is the Congress its own worst enemy?
Yes, the Congress has created confusion, lack of clarity. Even if it wanted to remove the captain from the saddle, there were better ways to do it. And even now, not, for Rahul Gandhi to say we will name our chief ministerial candidate, if you name one or the other, you're going to have the other sulking and problems for yourself. So I think, yes, the Congress is shot. It has a tendency to shoot itself in the foot.
Mr. Pradhan, the big challenge for Chief Minister Channi of Punjab was the controversy around the Prime Minister's security that took place, where they were accused, the Punjab government was accused of putting the Prime Minister at risk. How would you rate the handling of that situation? Because it's become quiet now. The BJP is not talking about it as much as they did.
I think, Faye, why the BJP is ultimately compelled to silence itself was because in the bargain, the Prime Minister got this whole humbug that was created. I call it humbug because it got exposed. Everybody knows that the SOP for VVIP security is that the VVIP cannot be kept like a sitting duck at a static position for more than 3 minutes, I'm told, 3 or 2 minutes. And in this case, 20 minutes they allowed him to remain there. People talking in the door is opening, they're rolling down the glass. That's not the way to do it. So obviously, the whole drama was staged to give this impression that Prime Minister security, what threat. And when they knew that this road was blocked, which is how it was clarified by the government, but Channi did a neat job. Then what was the need to be sticking around there on the flyover? The first thing that needed to be done was to turn back. Secondly, and as a matter of fact, primarily, there was no need for him to have taken the road. That also got exposed. That because there wasn't enough crowd at the rally which he was supposed to address. So he decided not to he was advised to take the chopper, which takes 10 minutes to reach there. And he did not do it. So all this appeared to be more of a well thought out design to create, because every day you can't create Pulwama. So you had to, something else had to be cooked up, apparently. I mean, I am ready to believe that. So that is why it was done. And I think because these beans were spilled and people got to know what was the truth, despite the mainstream media moving heaven and earth to give this impression that, oh my God, how the Prime Minister's security has been breached and all kinds of things that have been attributed. Even I don't blame the kind of the intimidation and the kind of inducements that these mainstream media gets. They are bound to sing to the to play his master's voice. So unfortunately, but I think that was the reason which compelled the BJP to go on the back foot on that issue. And I don't think it is going to be any issue in the election. Like everybody knows, everybody can see through, has seen through it. What is more important here is that Congress does not commit another self-goal. They have handled the Punjab situation very shabbily. And I think Rahul Gandhi, if I'm not wrong, is to blame for that. So now how they move further, because, at the end of the day, I fully agree with Neerja that there's no room for the BJP to even dream of forming a government there. But I'm not so sure about the Akali Dal. But yes, the contest at the moment appears to be largely between Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party.
Aam Aadmi Party.
And Aam Aadmi Party seems to be doing well. It has earned has a lot of credibility with the common people there, particularly the youth. So let's see. And how it works out, what I was not aware of this the Aam Aadmi Party's candidate's man's background. So, well, in that case, it appears that from what Neerja says, then Channi, if it is the face of the Chief Minister, then Channi has definitely proved himself to be a good, well-meaning guy, down-to-earth chap. He's risen from nowhere, and he appears to be very humble. And the only thing is, I don't know how Congress is going to keep this man who shoots out of the Sindhu in check, which is again important because he is likely to cause more damage than good to the party.
Both of our panelists believe that the Congress looking strongest right now in Punjab, and it's really up to the Congress and whether or not a self-goal will make room for the Aam Aadmi Party. But let's be honest, the Congress is, its self-goals are regularly in the bag. It's not something that we should write past them. They still have some time to throw this one away. The other state that is also really interesting at this point is Goa. Small state, lots of action. Goa used to be a BJP to Congress, sort of a bipartisan fight. It's not anymore. The TMC has come in. The Aam Aadmi Party has come in. And Goa, among all of the states in the country, has witnessed the largest amount of sort of switching of sides that we've seen so far since the last election. Almost more than half of the Congress's MLAs were emptied out and moved to the BJP. It's interesting to see how that will play out right now. Again, there is, and I know both of the guests are going to rubbish this, there is a superstition about Goa that whoever wins Goa also, has a route to Delhi in some way. It's a superstition. I'm saying, there's absolutely no evidence, scientific evidence there, but Goa makes for an interesting contest. Mr. Pradhan, you first. What are you reading out of Goa right now?
Well, I see again Aam Aadmi Party making a serious dent there, and if the way things are within the BJP, there's a lot of disaffection among
But Aam Aadmi Party and the TMC came in with a few candidates, and it does seem like their influence is sort of waning a little bit as we get closer to the election date. Do you see them as strong?
They're being projected as outsiders. This is what the BJP and Congress both are trying to do. But I wonder because again, it is these places again. Aam Aadmi Party seems to be making a lot of impression on the youth. And from what they see happening in Delhi, they believe, things like better schools, better health services, and these and freebies. So they seem to be, and youths particularly seem to be impressed by the fact that they are a party. Arvind Kejriwal is a man who seems to be result oriented. So how much I agree that they are not in a position to form a full scale government, but they could be kingmakers. That's how I see them. And BJP, I think is having a tough time there. After what with all this jhagada between the Parikars and the ways Parikar has been sidelined. And so I wouldn't be surprised at the way, they have changed leaderships there. So they would have a difficult time. Again, TMC would make some dent in the sense, now TMC and Aam Aadmi Party, I don't think anybody is likely to get a majority there, and TMC and Aam Aadmi Party could be kingmakers.
Interesting. Ms. Chowdhury, do you agree that TMC and Aam Aadmi Party could become, kingmakers? TMC particularly, when it came into Goa, it had a lot of interesting people join the party. who have over the last couple of weeks left again.
That's right.
We've had some
Oh
exits,
yes, oh yes.
fresh entries who have also exited at this point, saying that they felt it was, they were already disillusioned in just a few weeks. What are you reading into their chances?
Look, you're absolutely right. That was said that in 4 constituencies, the TMC will definitely win on the basis of the individual influence that the candidate they had got to their side held in the state. So, but as we are getting closer to elections, I see it as a clear Congress versus BJP fight. Now, it's possible that they may get 1 seat, and Aam Aadmi Party initially went there with a bang. But I agree with you, their influence has been waning and it's becoming a two-way fight. And I give the Congress a good chance, both in Goa as well as in Uttarakhand. Those are 2 states the Congress could really get power. But in smaller states, what happens is what happened last time. Congress was the single largest, all set to form government, and at midnight everything was overturned, and you suddenly had a BJP government. And I think Congress again shot itself in the foot, and there was a suspicion that they allowed it, or they were lackadaisical and laid back, or they allowed it to happen. So whatever be the truth of that, what happened in 17, but certainly if you are 1 or 2 seats short, then it's very easy to get 2 to go from here to there, and this kind of management and breaking of MLAs.
And BJP is very good at that.
And BJP is very good at that. In fact, people now in smaller states say that, whichever way we vote, the BJP will form the government. But I think it may not be so easy this time.
Is the BJP smarting a little bit from the embarrassment of having Mr. Parikar's son leave the party? Because we've had Devendra Fadnavis, who's running that election on the ground, come out and say that, we'd offered him 2 seats, he rejected it. So they're trying to make it seem like, they were not inhospitable, which is what the junior Mr. Parikar has made it seem. So also, we know that after Manohar Parrikar, there hasn't really been a leader in the BJP in Goa. And so there's a certain disillusionment and anti-incumbency that's set in on the ground with the way the government is working, with the way the government is handling the environment, which has caused a lot of, disenchantment among the citizens of Goa. Is that all likely to play out as well?
Are you asking me? Yes.
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 Sure.
Yes, definitely it's going to play out. And the Parrikar ticket handling could have been, done better. After all, there is, he was a tall leader, Manohar Parrikar, in the center also, and there is sympathy for him.
Yeah.
And 1 ticket to the son in a constituency, it didn't matter so much. Now they're trying to make amends. But certainly in the BJP, I agree with you, after Parrikar has not had a kind of leader with a similar kind of following. And that is one element. And of course, anti-incumbency of people being disillusioned. And the Congress is there as the largest party. And you must remember that TMC, NCP, Shiv Sena wanted to do an alliance with the Congress, and the Congress turned it down.
Yeah.
So I personally think it's a BJP versus Congress fight in Goa, clearly.
Ms. Chowdhury, also about the Congress in Goa, while the citizens have been disillusioned with the mismanagement on the ground of the state of Goa by the BJP, the current BJP government, does the Congress and its candidates offer anything different or anything new? Because this is the same, sort of set of guys who have been contesting for the last several decades. The problems that the citizens have with them are largely similar. There's very little to choose from.
I know, that is correct. You need fresh faces, younger faces, new narrative to come. People want that. But, when you're at the receiving end of a certain kind of governance for 5 years, you will say, let me go for a change. Okay, they may not be great shakes, but let me have some change. So that itself, keeps the politicians on their toe. And this kind of psychology does work in situations where anti-incumbency plays out.
Right. We're nearly out of time, but I quickly want to ask you all about Uttarakhand as well. Ms. Chowdhury already telling us that you see it large. You see the Congress's chances better there?
Where? Uttarakhand?
In Uttarakhand?
Yes, I would say Congress is doing well there. And remember, with the change of CMs, people were very fed up.
Very fed up.
And again, anti-incumbency in Uttarakhand. So I think Congress is well poised there for a victory.
Mr. Pradhan, Uttarakhand?
I agree with Neerja, because the reports that are coming in from there, it's very evident that Congress certainly has an edge over the BJP. People are disillusioned with the BJP there for various reasons, other than the fact that the frequent changes of the chief ministers, dissatisfaction within the BJP cadres, and secondly, they have not been able to deliver at all. And mind you, in Uttarakhand again, youth makes a lot of difference there. Uttarakhand is among the high literacy states, and politically, political consciousness level is pretty high there. And they are the ones who, again, they're not wedded to this kind of the Hindutva ideology. Despite the fact that you have most of the Hindu shrines there, they are not affected by, they are Hindus all right, but they don't get affected by Hindutva. So, which is why they prefer the Congress, because Congress has in the past delivered there for various reasons. And I think this time there is a clear edge for the Congress there.
Ms. Chowdhury, developmental projects being announced by the BJP, and we've seen there's the Chardham project, the road widening happening. There's a lot going on the ground in Uttarakhand. Is that not going to make a difference?
I think to an extent, yes. And this Hindu sentiment, is very pronounced in Uttarakhand. They are so naturally, religious.
Yes.
People.
But they don't believe in hatred. Their difference, yeah.
That of course. But the BJP does play that card, and also development card. The BJP is not, as I said earlier, the BJP has a 5-point, message, and it's development, vikas, projects, programs, delivery. They are certainly focusing on that and what they feel they have done.
And Uttarakhand has a very, mind you, this communal divide doesn't work there because it has a minuscule Muslim population there. So they can't play up that card.
Right. So on that note, we've run out of time, but I want to thank the two of you for always being so generous with your time when you're chatting with us whenever we call. It's a pleasure to talk to you. It's obviously going to get more heated and more interesting as we get closer and closer to these elections. We'll keep an eye on all of that. Thank you, Neerja Chowdhury and Sharat Pradhan, for talking to us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you on your show.
Thank you. For our audience, remember, do like our videos, share them with friends and family. We will continue to put out the news for you here on a daily basis and to bring you interesting discussions. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.